The shocking truth about business credit scores and funding, a lot of people talk about, hey, my payday score is 90, maybe 80, and that's cool and all, but business credit score is just the same thing as personal credit score. The score can be misleading. And I know there's a lot of people out here, they sell you the business boost lines. They say, oh, well, pay me maybe $1,500, get a $50,000 trade line on the business side. You pay another here. And after you paid that money, you may have 3 or 5 accounts. They look good. They got nice limits. But at the same time, it's like, all right, someone has me playing the business authorized user game, just like people pay the personal credit authorized user game. And here's the thing about both of them. With personal credit, authorized users aren't even factored in when you're trying to go get business credit approval. So that's something I definitely want you to keep in mind. And with business credit, those aren't authorized users. Most of them are primary, some are authorized user, but there's a thing that you may not be aware of. You need at least 15 accounts and then across the 6 tiers. So if someone haven't talked to you about those two things, now they're just selling you something and your business credit score is going to be misleading. How and do I know that? Because countless times people have invested in those products, I myself as well, and figured out the hard way after I invested the money that, hey, this is not my best investment. But we figure out the hard way sometimes. So with the business credit, now we realize that, just 1 second. Yeah, with the business credit, now we realize that what's the proper way to do it to get the best results. So first, I'll talk to you about just business alone. When you're talking about getting a business loan or credit cards or lines of credit, 9 times out of 10 with lines of credit, they want you to be in business for at least 2 years. So that's the line of credit. And then, of course, a strong personal credit score. But if you want to just lean on the business solely, then now you're talking about the 6 tiers of business credit. And I definitely help you through that with my services as well. And now you're talking about at least 15 accounts. So you're like, damn, I never heard of this before. Yeah, because it's the same thing like on personal credit. Let's say you go in, you got one credit card. It's maybe $1,500 limit. There's somebody like, oh, get 2 authorized users, one to get you some limits and one to get you some age, but still some age. I said, it sounded like I said age, didn't I? Well, no, age. So look at it now. You purchase something to get some age, you purchase something to get a higher limit. But now you only got 3 accounts available, not knowing that a thin file is still 5 accounts and under. So it's like, dang, if I didn't know this, I wouldn't purchase these things. So relate that. It's a thin file, but you purchase the authorized users. It looks good on the surface, but remember, they're not even going to factor that in when you go to apply for a business credit card. Take it over to the business side. You purchase these authorized users. It sounds good. It looks good. Everyone told you about it. Oh, yeah. But again, you don't have enough accounts, so it's still a thin file. You don't have the history, the age. People want to see banks and lending institutions want to see payments over time. Payments are always going to be the strongest amount. So a few accounts with a lack of payments just says, okay, maybe this person got approved somewhere. The keyword is maybe, or maybe just a bunch of holes, straight like that. How did this person get approved for this? So maybe you raise more questions than you give answers. So really try to understand and dial this in. So our minimum is like, all right, what are the 6 tiers of business? How do I go through them? And what are the best 15 accounts I need to build to have a strong payday score? And then here's things like this. Like the GM card, it's by Marcus.com by Goldman Sachs. If you want to get approved for that card, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, they couldn't verify and never get denied, but here's why they couldn't verify you. Is because you don't have a business profile set up and all your information is not consistent all across the board. So they go check multiple places. So like having a NAV profile set up, having an Equifax business profile set up, and of course the Experian business, and then a Dun & Bradstreet profile. So those 4 things alone with all consistent information will put you in for the business side. And then you also want to check with LexisNexis as well on the business side to make sure everything is consistent, because banks like that, and then Regions is another business card. So if you've been getting denied by Regions or GM, they say they couldn't verify you, it's because of those things. So go those 4 places. Dun & Bradstreet, make sure you got a profile. Experian business, Equifax business, and then have a NAV profile, because NAV business is like credit monitoring for your business. So you always want to know what's on your business profile. And then NAV is also a place where you can go and you can get business approvals. They will help you with that. And they have a bunch of lenders on the site that's monitoring your profile and say what you may be available for. So that's always something beneficial having if you're just starting a business, or even if you've been in business and don't have these things. I recommend to get them now. And so that's that side, as far as business being set up, being known. And these are simple things. A Google page takes 5 minutes to set up. Google business page, right in Google business page is going to show you, boom. You want that standard page to pop up like everyone else with a picture of your establishment, whatever it is, some type of imagery, what your hours are, days of the week you open, a contact number, and address. Simple things just to make your presence out there. And then also, I have a whole book, a guide. It's in here. You should be able to click in the link in the shop link, and it's the Building Business Credit Like a $1 Billion Corporation. Click on that book. It's going to give you every step, from phone numbers to go to, type of accounts you can go to, if you need a virtual address to incorporate another state, if you're doing business in another state, you just need a virtual address. If you want one in your state, all those different things are available to you. But I stress strongly the simple things by just having a good setup, having a business presence out there, and then getting a business bank account. That will get you more approvals alone, because some banks are just looking at your presence. So I know GM, Regions, and Bank of America. If you don't have a bank account with Bank of America in a relationship with them, they're going to rely on all these other things. So make sure you got that in place. So yeah, as far as the business side, that's how you can build a strong credit report. Now, you know, there's the banks like Divvy, Capital on Tap, the Sam's Club card. It's a lot of other of these banks, and then, you know, some of them, they want to see the cash flow. So now if you got all these things set up, you got good cash flow coming through your bank, and it's like, oh yes, now we talking about business getting approved. But then too, let's take it a step further. Your business is over 2 years old, you've done all these things, and now you got collateral you can borrow against, or you got heavy cash flow. Those are great things. Now that's how banks usually lend to businesses. Strong tax returns showing revenue or assets they can borrow against. So things like that is how business typically get approved. But then let's talk about how people 9 times out of 10 get business credit. Business funding. You've heard credit stacking. You've heard all these other things, cute names that people come out with. But simply, it's just having a strong personal credit score and leveraging that to get business approvals. But the benefit of it is, as once you get approved for the business credit cards under your business EIN, your personal social is used as a personal guarantee. Personal guarantee basically just means is you personally guarantee if the business defaults, you're going to pay it personally, and that's where your personal gets involved. Anything outside of you not defaulting on the business credit, your personal credit, it never shows, it never reflects, unless you have the Discover business card or the Capital One business card. Stay away from those two, because those two report on your personal credit. Absent of those, you have a separate business file supporting on the business side, helping your business build business credit. And then one of the perks of this as well is being able to hold higher balances on the business side, because they are mainly checking your personal credit and making sure that you're paying people back to get you for business approvals. I'll say that again. You can hold higher amounts of debt on your business credit as long as you keep your personal credit debt down, because they are using your personal credit report to approve you for the business credit report, business credit card. So that's the best way to do it. And then now you say, all right, how does my personal credit need to look? We've had clients that we've been able to run the mill, get all the highest approvals, but they have made a paid off cars, maybe a paid off house, maybe cars that they've had 10, 9 years, $20, $30, $40,000 limits, maybe 2 or 3 of them. Their newest car that they applied for was only 2 years ago. They've had a profile for 10, 15 years. I would say 9 years and older, now you start talking about a perfect credit score, getting the 850, but in at least 15 accounts. So at least the person had 15 accounts open and paid off things. Remember, no derogatories, nothing negative, no late payments at all. We want our payment history to be 100%. But in the worst case scenario, the bare minimum, no late payments in the past 24 months. One second. That's the bare minimum. No late payments in the past 24 months. So now we say no late payments in the past 24 months, no derogatory accounts, no bankruptcies, no negative accounts, no charge-offs, no collections. None of those things on there. Our inquiries are low. We haven't had inquiries in the past, no more than 3 inquiries in the past 6 months. Because we're going to see about 5 or 6 inquiries when we start to get denied. So we'll get at least 9 applications. We'll say 3 each credit reporting agency, and that's another strategy as well. Get my credit filter bypass book and talk about that strategy. Each credit reporting agency, how you go with them one at a time and understand what bank pulled this credit reporting agency and that strategy. So you're talking about 3 here, 3 there, 3 there. So at minimum, you're going to be able to get 9 applications and approvals if you got the maximum or the minimum of 3 inquiries in the past 6 months. So that, and then we talk about utilization. Under 30%, like I said, is the bare minimum, but really if you're talking about that strong score, perfect score, you can still achieve it under 7%, but really we want to talk about under 20 to 10 if we want to talk about putting us in a great position for funding. We want to talk about under 20, under 10% if we want to put ourselves in a great position for funding. So that's what we want to pay attention to as well, but under 30% bare minimum. And then, of course, what are we talking about? A strong score, I would say 15 accounts, a minimum score, or a minimum account, at least 5 open accounts with some history, at least a year old, but you're not asking for much. Let's say you got 1 credit card that's 2 years old. You maybe got a $14,000 limit, but then you got 3 other credit cards that's like 6 to 8 months old. It may have $10,000 limit, $14,000 limit, $6,500 limit. It's still shaky. We don't know your payment. We don't know how you pay back yet. So if we give you something, it's going to be something small, maybe $6,000 to maybe $10,000, in that range still, because it's still like a new profile yet. And then it's also depending on the business revenue. And remember, at this moment, it's another thing I want to bring up too. Stated income is a real thing. Stated income means what you hear people say, no doc loans. Doc is short for documents. So if you go to a bank, you can simply ask them, hey, is this stated income to a certain amount? And they can let you know. Sometimes they like to be vague and say, oh, we might ask for verification income. And that is true. They might. But 9 times out of 10, most banks are what they call stated income. So let's take stated income a step further. With stated income, you got what they call household income. And pay attention, not personal income. Household income is what it could be categorized as. And I've seen it many times on applications. So pay attention to that. And projected revenue. So here's 2 people that may not be aware of these 2 words. And now they're like, oh, well, I'm only reporting how much I make. When I understand that household income can be everyone's household income added up. That's a real thing. And then they say, you know what? My business is not making something more. Projected income is a real thing. How much do you project to make? Do you have a business plan and numbers to support this position? And that's your projected revenue. So now we fill an application, you can remember these type of situations, and it helps us with the approval to not limit ourselves. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as well. So all of these different things, and then please don't play the score game. If you think your score is high, just ask yourself, do I have these type of accounts? Do I have a mix? Because they got what they call revolving, something like a credit card or a line of credit, something where you get a limit, you can pay it down and it replenishes. Like they say, revolving. The door keeps going back and forth. 7,000, I use 5,000, I paid it down, 5,000 back available. It's just a revolving door. It keeps opening and closing as I pay it down or use it. And then we talk about installments. Installments like a loan, a car loan, a mortgage. And there's 2 different categories. A loan where they just give you cash is considered an unsecured loan in the installment category. It's not secured by anything. They just gave you cash. If they need to recoup, they don't have anything to recoup. So they just gave you cash. You didn't give them anything. But in an event like a car loan or a mortgage, that's considered secured, but that's called collateral. Whatever you got when they gave that lender who you got it from the loan, or they're the lender, when they gave that person who you got it from the loan, then you have the collateral, the product, the house, the car, the furniture, whatever it is. That's collateral. So that's called secured, because it's that item that you have. So unsecured, secured, and installment. If you got a unsecured, in the installment category, that's 2 different. And then you got a revolving like a credit card, and then we got maybe rent reporting or mortgage or something like that. You see you filling out these categories, so that's a more credit mix is what they call it. If you got that, that's a stronger report versus just having 3 credit cards open and the limit is only $515,000. And another thing, volume trash again. And another thing to keep in mind, with this set accounts, you need to make sure that you're getting credit limit increases every 3 to 6 months on these credit cards. I see a lot of people make this mistake. They just pay their bills, pay it down, make sure they don't go over, be on time. But it's like, hey, have you been asking for credit limit increases? Because remember, we got to go. We need to build. We can't rely on them. So the first thing you need to do when you get approved with the credit card, ask them, say, how often do you allow credit limit increases? Some banks I've seen are 3 months. Some banks I've seen are 6 months. You need to figure that out and make sure you're doing that on sequence every 3 to 6 months, making sure you're getting credit limit increases. That is definitely going to help you out so you're not stagnant. And then think about it. In a 2-year span, you should get a minimum of at least 4 increases. So if you start at $1,000, after 6 months, you should be able to go up to $3,000. After another 6 months, you should be able to go up to around 5 or 10. Really, it's usually a maximum of 4 times your current limit. So you should be able to go up to 5 or 10 after 18 months, if they're on 6-month cycles. And then after that 24 month, you should be able to go up to 15 or 20. And that's where your sweet spot is. You want all of your credit card limits at least over $15,000. And 20 is rarely. We say 5 revolving credit card limits at least 20,000 max, and then we manage those, and then whatever things we get, like a car loan, a house loan, and so we have those other things, but that's our mix, and that's what we really want to do is just manage those, get those limits up, and have a strong personal credit report. So now we roll into getting the business approvals, and we can always rinse and repeat that. We don't want to hold debt on our personal, so that's why we don't want to get a whole bunch of high limit credit. We want to get the limits high, but we don't want to be tempted to use that debt, because remember, our goal is to get to where we're getting business credit approvals, high limits, but we got to get that personal credit first, and then simultaneously, like I was talking about the 15 accounts, we can make sure we got a strong business profile. So I would say someone from absolutely nothing, a 2-year plan, they can be killing the game if they stay focused and they follow these instructions. And please take advantage of those written materials that I provided for you for just step-by-step process of how I was able to go from a 550 credit score, 22 negative items, to holding a perfect credit score to this day, an American Express Black Card, and then over $1 million in business credit from applying these methods that I'm telling you now. And I messed up my credit 3 different times, and it's gotten better every time. And you can only imagine how much I've learned in that process. So stay tuned for more. I hope this helps you. I'm sure it will. And if you like this, subscribe for more. I'll see you soon.